The song you're listening to right now is It's Just a Burning Memory from the Stage 1 album of Everywhere at the End of Time by The Caretaker. Some of you may have warm feelings when you hear this song because you saw it in a meme that made you laugh. Others may feel existential dread when you hear this. I am definitely the latter. Recently, I decided to tackle one of, possibly the, most mentally challenging musical projects ever produced. Everywhere at the End of Time by The Caretaker is a concept music project spanning over the course of 6 full-length studio albums. The concept for this album came about after his exploration of Alzheimer's disease in his album An Empty Bliss Beyond This World. Initially, The Caretaker wasn't going to produce more music, but he instead felt compelled to continue and explore the only other possible avenue: the progression of dementia. The Caretaker himself stated that this would be his final project and that, and I quote, "I just can't see where I can take it after this." Many people have theorized that this project represents the death of the Caretaker alias, but for simplicity's sake, I will refer to James Leland Kirby, aka the man behind the Caretaker project, as the Caretaker. With that out of the way, I think we're ready to explore the project. But first, I want to tell a story of how I first discovered this project. Like many, I first stumbled across Everywhere at the End of Time online. I believe I was scrolling through YouTube or Google or something and I saw the Stage 1 album cover. It reminded me of something that Pink Floyd or another band like them would have as a cover. I don't know why, that's just the vibe that I got from it. So I immediately dismissed it as a classic rock album that I would never listen to. Fast forward some, I don't remember how exactly, but I came across it again, this time being the full Stages 1 through 6 compilation. This time, I listened to the beginning of It's Just a Burning Memory, paused it, and went down to the comments. There, I got the idea of what the project is about. But I read a comment from someone saying they just don't have the patience to sit through the whole project, which, if you look at how long it is, it's easy to see why. But it wasn't that comment itself, it was the reply that turned me off from this project for a while. The comment read something along the lines of, "I can understand how some people can't sit through 6 hours of distorted ballroom music." So from that comment, without actually listening to the music, I thought that the music would still be coherent through all 6 stages. It would get distorted more and more, but it would still be coherent. So again, I dismissed the project. A little time goes by, and for some reason, I decided to come back to it and get a sample, a taste if you will, of every stage. I listened to little snippets of stages 1 through 6 just to see what I was missing. And after experiencing those snippets, I realized I couldn't be more wrong, but I still couldn't dedicate myself to sit down for 6 hours to listen to the whole thing. So for the third time, I dismissed the project. And again, recently, I decided that I was interested enough to finally tackle it, but I would do it in my own way. I had the idea to split it up into one album each day over the course of 6 days, which didn't go how I planned, but I'll get to that in a bit. I know the recommended way is to listen to it all at once, but if you really think about it, The Caretaker released these albums 6 months apart, as he said, to give a sense of time passing. So I'd argue splitting it up is the best way to listen to it. You can listen to it all at once if you really want to, but I personally can't do it that way, so I did it the way I thought was best for me. After getting through stages 1 through 5, I had the idea to stream my full reaction to stage 6. I asked if you guys would have been interested, and you said yes. So I did, and with that, I finished the project. By the way, that stream is still up on my channel if you guys want to go and see my reaction to the ending. But after I finished it, I just found myself wanting to talk about this project more and more. I can't really explain why, but I'm deeply fascinated with this project, and I think everyone should experience it at least once. But with all of that said, let's get into this thing stage by stage. Stage 1 starts out like normal. It's sampled ballroom music with bits of static and vinyl crackle, making it sound as if you're listening to an aged record. Stage 1 represents the beginning of the end, so to speak. There are no visible symptoms, yet there's not a whole lot to worry about yet. Is what I would say if the music wasn't pieced together in a way that made it feel so uneasy. Excluding stages 4, 5, and 6, stage 1 probably invoked the most fear and panic out of me, which doesn't make sense to me considering how much worse the later stages are. If I had to guess, it's probably due to the fact that I knew the concept and I started to dread where it was going. And because of this, I found it increasingly difficult to do anything. I was so engulfed by the music I was hearing that I felt like I couldn't do anything. I tried scrolling through social media, I tried reading comments, I tried reading articles related to the project, I tried doing minute stuff like that, and I was finding it even more difficult than it ordinarily would be. I felt like I could only sit there and absorb what I was hearing. This is the only time I will mention this, since it also happened for every other stage. And something that didn't really help with the dread that I was feeling were the track titles. Titles such as It's Just a Burning Memory, We Don't Have Many Days, Things That Are Beautiful and Transient, and My Heart Will Stop in Joy. These track titles fit the overall theme of the concept and are very fitting with the music you're hearing, adding more to that uneasy feeling. And to add to the pile, the description for the first stage didn't really help either. Here we experience the first signs of memory loss. This stage is most like a beautiful daydream, the glory of old age and recollection, the last of the great days. Another thing that truly enhances the experience when listening is looking at the album art from time to time. Stage 1's art looks like a rolled up book or magazine made out of stone, but notice how there's no details on the cover or pages. This is hinting that the memories are starting to fade. We just don't know it yet. Stage 2 is more of the same. Sampled ballroom music with static and vinyl crackle. This is where I dedicated myself to the one album per day schedule I had originally set. I didn't listen to Stage 2 until a week after I had listened to Stage 1. However, when I went into it, I immediately noticed that something is different. The static and vinyl crackle remains almost constant this time, instead of just popping in from time to time. This shows us that something is very clearly wrong. The track titles indicate that we are aware of this too. A losing battle is raging, glimpses of hope in trying times, denial unraveling, and the way ahead feels lonely. The album art is indicative of this as well. It's a flower pot, but we can't tell what the pot is made out of. We can see the flowers and we can see what they're in, but not what it's made out of. This shows us that we're still aware, but we're also slowly slipping away. The music also feels more somber and depressing compared to Stage 1. This indicates to me that we are in denial over what is happening, that we don't like it. In fact, the description for Stage 2 reads, "The second stage is the self-realization and awareness that something is wrong with a refusal to accept that. More effort is made to remember so memories can be more long-form with a little more deterioration in quality. The overall personal mood is generally lower than the first stage and at a point before confusion starts setting in. So we're aware of what is happening, and we don't want to accept it. Yet we're fucking powerless to stop it." Stage 3 is also more sampled ballroom music. However, this time around, the static and vinyl crackle take more of a back seat. While still present, this time we're met with amalgamated tracks. Songs that are pieced together in a way that I can only describe as confusing. Pieces you may have just heard on the same album make another appearance, and others will have chunks of skipping, symbolizing that these memories are really starting to fade. The track titles are indicative of this as well. Some tracks are amalgamated of past titles, such as And Heartbreaks, Bewildered in Other Eyes, Drifting Time Misplaced, and Burning Despair Does Ache. But to me, the most heartbreaking part can be found in Long-Term Dusk Glimpses. The track fades out, and what sounds like a record needle dropping starts the song over, showcasing that we know at least half of the song, but not the rest of it. Everything feels warped, but still coherent enough to where you can still make out what it is. The same can't be said about the album cover, though. Some have looked at this and said it might look like a tree or a plant of some sort, but I genuinely can't tell you what it looks like. The description for Stage 3 reads, "Here we are presented with some of the last coherent memories before confusion fully rolls in and the gray mists form and fade away. Finest moments have been remembered. The musical flow in places is more confused and tangled. As we progress, some singular memories become more disturbed, isolated, broken, and distant. These are the last embers of awareness before we enter the post-awareness stages." So in light of that description, we are still aware, yet we're still slowly slipping away. And once we're there, we won't even know it. Stage 4 is a different kind of beast. While the previous 3 albums were made up of 10 to 15 tracks and clocked in at 40 or so minutes, Stage 4 is where things ramp up. This album only has 4 tracks, each being 21 or 22 minutes long and clocks in at 1 hour and 27 minutes. All but one of the tracks are titled Post-Awareness Confusions. The entire album, to me, sounds like constant changing of radio frequencies. The music is still coming through, but it's so garbled and encapsulated to the point where it's impossible to make out. This is also the first time horror has truly set in. We don't know what's happening and we don't know what to do. We don't know what we can do. We're presented with memories coming through very briefly, but some of them are becoming scarier than they used to be. Which leads me to the hell sirens. Jesus Christ, this moment is the scariest part on the entire project. We have this brief moment where we remember something that may have been sweet or happy, but it's immediately shrouded in fear and terror. And that siren is indicative of the phrase, an alarm bell going off in your head, almost implying that we should be afraid. The only track that feels remotely warm or calming is Temporary Bliss State, where the drones are almost happier. The memories are still incoherent, but you almost feel more at peace. The album art makes this all the more heartbreaking though. The album cover represents a person, but with no features. We still know what people are, but we don't know who they are or what they look like. We're at the point where we're forgetting everyone and everything. The description for Stage 4 reads, Post-Awareness Stage 4 is where serenity and the ability to recall singular memories gives way to confusions and horror. It's the beginning of an eventual process where all memories begin to become more fluid through entanglements, repetition, and rupture. So we're at the point of no return. We can barely recall any memories anymore. No matter how hard we try, we only succumb to the horror and confusions that cloud our mind. The familiar is now the unknown. Stage 5 is practically the same as Stage 4. More radio frequency noise, loud drones, industrial sound effects, more static, and memories desperately trying to make their way through the confusion. But somehow, it feels more chaotic this time around. The first 2 tracks have the same theme as Stage 4, that of having the same title, Advanced Plaque Entanglements. They're also the only 2 tracks to heavily feature static on this album. The other 2 tracks, Synapse Retrogenesis and Sudden Time Regression into Isolation, are more ambient, drony, calmer tracks. While the music tries to make itself known amidst the clouds, it's just too lost to be recognized. The album cover represents this perfectly, in my opinion. It's too abstract. It looks like someone or something going up a flight of stairs, but it's impossible to make out what. We're too lost to tell what anything is anymore. And because of the previous stage, this is starting to become almost normal. The description for Stage 5 reads, Post-awareness Stage 5 confusions and horror. More extreme entanglements, repetition, and rupture can give way to calmer moments. The unfamiliar may sound and feel familiar. Time is often spent only in the moment, leading to isolation. So at this point, we just exist. We can't remember anyone or anything. We can't really do anything anymore either. All we can do is wait until the end. Stage 6 is without description. No, literally, there isn't one. Stage 6 is nothing but low ambient drones. I can count on one hand how many times the music tries to show through, but the drones are so prominent now, the music basically just doesn't exist. Except for the ending, but we'll get to that. This album keeps with the same 20-minute 4-track theme we've seen in the previous stages. However, this time all the tracks have different titles. And to no surprise, they fit really well with the music. A confusion so thick you forget forgetting. A brutal bliss beyond this empty defeat. Long decline is over, and place in the world fades away. The album art fits not only the music, but the titles too. A piece of matte board lined with blue masking tape without a piece of paper or art to be seen. Not only are these memories lost, there's nowhere they can go, making this album all the more depressing. The first 3 tracks, as described, are just low ambient drones. Someone described these as the songs of the void, and I don't think there could be a more fitting description. Just pure white noise for about an hour. That is, until you reach the end. About 6 minutes into the final track, the drones swell out and an ambient organ carries out for the next 9 minutes, symbolizing that we are dying. It feels almost bittersweet in a way. All this suffering, not being able to remember anyone or anything, only to succumb to the fate we've been dealt. Suddenly, the organ stops from the sound of a record needle. There's a brief moment of static. Then, another tune, a recognizable melody for the first time in what feels like forever, swells up and lasts for 7 minutes, simulating terminal lucidity, or as some have theorized, death itself. This is another bittersweet moment. We finally have a moment of clarity and recollection after so long before we slip away. And before you know it, that tune fades away and we're met with a moment of silence, simulating our passing. And just like that, we're gone. God damn, I need a drink. By the way, I'm 23, guys, so don't get salty. I told you we were dealing with some heavy shit, right? So before I go, I wanted to give my overall thoughts on this project and share a little game theory I thought about while making it. I'll go ahead and lead with the theory. Many people have discussed that the final clarity moment in Place in the World Fades Away symbolizes terminal lucidity or death. I actually don't think that's the case. I think the sudden record needle drop after the organ section is the symbolism of death. Because if you think about it, it's so sudden, it's unexpected, and no one really knew it was coming. Then I think the tune that plays at the end is either the representation of them passing over to the other side or something like them seeing their best memories flash before they cross over after they've died. Sorry, I don't know the exact term for that. That's just how I interpreted it. I could be wrong, but hey, that's what makes art so great. Anyways, game theory over. My overall thoughts on this project are that it is one of the most amazing yet heartbreaking things I have ever experienced. And after experiencing it, I think "May the ballroom remain eternal" is one of the most ominous, most terrifying phrases I think I have ever heard. I know some people have said they came back to this project while others have said they haven't. I'm definitely in the camp of I don't think I'll ever listen to the whole thing in full again. Obviously, I had to make an exception for this video. I had multiple parts to sift through to find what I wanted to use. But this one time was enough for me personally. Maybe I'll revisit some songs from stages 1 through 3 around October to get into the spooky mood, but I think that's really it. You know how people have those things that they think are so profound and so heavy-hitting the first time they experience it that it sticks with them and they don't feel the need to return to it because that one time was enough? This is one of those cases for me personally. I think that if you're even mildly interested in this project and are skeptical of it, I encourage you to please tackle it. Like I mentioned earlier, you don't need to listen to it all in one sitting. You can split it up if you need to. But I need to reiterate, if you are not in a good place mentally, do not, I repeat, do not tackle it because it will only make you feel worse. Put it off, wait until the next day, or week, or month. Do what you have to avoid this project until you are ready. But if you're even remotely interested, I highly recommend you check it out. I finally did, and after experiencing it, I feel like a changed person. I really, really do. But anyways, I think that'll do it from me. If you guys enjoyed this one, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to join the Discord, link down below. Thank you guys for watching. Much love, and I'll see you in the next one.